Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming to you once again from our home away from home, the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on. And later on is when the roundtable will show up. We'll get into all sorts of controversy, so stay tuned for that. But between now and then, some great guests, important information coming your way, including more of an understanding about Alzheimer's and dementia, that and much more. But where we want to start is talking about workforce development, strengthening our economy, and we have two experts who are going to help us with this on my immediate right. And both of these folks come to us from Forsyth Tech. Jennifer Kuhlenbut, she's Associate Vice President for Business Partnerships and Process Improvement at Forsyth Tech, and Dr. Alan Murdoch is Vice President for Economic and Workforce Development at Forsyth Tech. Good to see both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Alan, I'm going to start with you. Now, help us understand, for those that don't know, and that might include me, what is economic and workforce development in your view?
Sure. So economic workforce development, of course, is a division of Forsyth Tech, and we primarily focus on short-term training. So short-term training for the individual as well as for organizations. Just to give you a couple examples of individuals looking for a job. I have a class called electrical lineman. You take that class, you get a job as electrical lineman. Right?
So it's all, so it syncs up there with jobs that are actually available and it's pertinent to what's going on in the community.
Exactly.
Jennifer, let me talk with you about how in your title, when I introduced you, talk about businesses and partnerships. In what ways do you partner with businesses?
We partner with business in a number of ways. So people think of the obvious ways of hiring our graduates, of course, and we're certainly appreciative of businesses that do that. But we have businesses that, for example, sponsor entire programs. They host students for apprenticeship or for work-based learning opportunities. We have a number of businesses that serve on industry leadership teams that help to direct and support the curriculum, and of course, sponsoring students in scholarship, sponsoring programs and equipment donation, and really the list goes on and on.
Well, I have a stupid question because you've answered half of it, and we know how it benefits the students because you just listed some good ways. And here's the obvious question: how does it benefit businesses?
Well, of course, again, through economic development. You know, North Carolina, I'm proud to say, is one of the first states to directly tie economic development and workforce development. So, you know, we know that helping to develop our workforce, you know, of course, it impacts the businesses, but individually and indirectly, if those businesses can have an influence on the curriculum that is being shared with our students, of course, it's going to improve the quality of the end product that they're receiving.
Let me jump over to Alan for a second. You know, this whole thing with the pandemic is affected so many people in so many tragic ways, and even in terms of the economy, it's had a big impact. Now, do you see what Jennifer and I were talking about and what you're involved in with workforce development and economic development efforts at Forsyth Tech? Is that the way to help us through in rebuilding and getting back where the economy needs to be?
Absolutely. I think right now we're looking at doing what we've done in the past. It's worked, that electrical lineman program, but also looking at our partners and seeing how has work changed, telework. That's relatively new to the masses. Obviously, some companies have been doing it in the past. And the third piece I think that would help us is we need to be on the lookout for opportunities because we don't know what coming out of COVID really looks like.
Right.
But we do know that Forsyth Tech, you know, we want to be the catalyst for economic mobility, right? This is a time to get everyone involved and raise all boats. And so I think we're going to have to develop a lot of partnerships and get into the communities to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And not to preach the choir, but I mean, look, a lot of people have been laid off because of so many business closures, and a lot of those jobs are not going to come back, which means they're going to need folks like you to help them come in and get retraining, and that brings in the business partnership angle too. Jennifer, are you actively seeking more business partners now, or do you have all you need?
Oh, we're always seeking more business partners because, you know, we know that workforce development and economic development are just good things for the community. It's good things for our individuals and, of course, the bottom line at the end of the day for all of our businesses. So we are actively seeking partners at all times.
All right, so if I'm a business and I want to be a partner, what do I do? Do I just, there's a website I've got here. I'm assuming they can go to that, or is that the way?
Absolutely. Or you can just email businesspartnerships@forsythtech.edu is a great way, or find any one of us and we'll connect you.
It's forsythtech.edu/EWD is what we have on screen, or you can just call Alan at home. I'll give you his home. No, I don't do that. All right, thanks for doing this, and look, seriously, thanks for all the work you're doing to get our economy back in shape.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today. As I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, I wanted to talk about memory care And so we're going to learn more about memory care as it applies to Alzheimer's disease and dementia, different forms of dementia. And we're doing that with an expert and a great gal. Next to me is Wendy Shoemaker. She's Director of Memory Care Programming for Ridge Care. Welcome.
Thank you.
I know you're busy, and I appreciate you stopping by to do this. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about this. Now, speaking of talking, why is it important that we have conversations about Alzheimer's disease and dementia?
Well, Jim, dementia is a rapidly growing issue in our country right now and even worldwide. Currently, 6 million folks already in the U.S. have Alzheimer's disease in particular, and that number is expected to nearly double in the next 30 years.
Well, what kind of changes and challenges occur for someone who is first diagnosed with dementia? What are the challenges that begin to form?
Well, the one thing that most people think about is memory loss. When you start talking about dementia, being forgetful is something that comes up usually as at the top of the list. But dementia is a disease of the brain. Whatever type of dementia a person may have, their brain is being impacted. And your brain is kind of your supercomputer. So it manages your memories, it controls your mood, your impulse control, how things taste, what colors look like. All of those things are managed in our brain. So as the brain is deteriorated, all of those areas can be impacted.
And it can be a little different for everybody. Everybody's different. You're
It
not
can
going to always have the same symptoms. What are you at Ridge Care doing specifically? Give me an example to make the quality of life better, easier for dementia patients.
Well, we've developed a pretty extensive program that truly attempts to join in the journey with someone with dementia, because it's a journey. For some folks, they go through this process for 20 plus years. And as the changes occur, their needs at different point in the journey can be impacted by who's caring for them. So at Ridge Care, we've developed these programs that try to tie into who a person is, what their abilities are. Not focus on what they've lost and what they can't do, but tie into the things that they still can remember and can talk about. Their wedding day. No matter how much dementia progresses, we don't ever lose the ability and the need to look good and feel good and try to be as active as we can, to talk about where we grew up and what our first car was. So we try to tie into all of those things as we're developing.
This is a difficult question, but how do you know when it's time, if you're a loved one, a family member, you see these symptoms, you know the diagnosis, how do you know it's time to consider placing a loved one with you as opposed to, well, let's just stay here in the home a little longer? When do you make that decision?
For each family, that comes at a different point. I think safety, first and foremost, has to be a driving factor. Certainly if someone is testing doors and trying to get out of the house or walking up the road and they don't know where they are, then it is an absolute time to start looking at that. But a lot of times people get very focused on the issue of not leaving that house, not leaving that home. And so a lot of stress and anxiety can happen on a family trying to make that continue.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like things with, for those of us that have gone through cancer or whatever, I'm not saying that families don't support you with different diseases.
Right.
But, cancer and other things, COPD, they're things that the patient goes through. Alzheimer's and dementia, for those of us that have seen this and gone through it, it's a family disease.
It is a family disease, and it's a period of loss over and over and change. So that's one of the things that when it comes time to place a loved one in a community, just like throughout the disease, rather than focus on what you're losing, focus on what that person can be gaining.
Right.
A lot of times people with dementia get very, very isolated. And they have one or two family members that are coming to interact with them and meet their basic needs. But in a community setting, I equate it to being in college and living in a dorm.
Absolutely. And I've seen how you guys do a great job with that and have activities going on. And I just appreciate what you're doing. Well, I don't want to keep rambling on. I want to put this up on screen. Ridgecare.com is the website. Also, the phone number is on screen, 993-7555. So please talk about it with your loved ones and with each other. And folks, like Wendy will help you make that decision. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
You do a good work.
Well, thank you.
We'll be right back. Hey, and I tell you, I always get excited talking about education, especially when we're helping students get scholarships and fulfill their educational dreams and desires. And we have a lady here who helps them do that. Next to me, Brandy Kennedy, who's Assistant Director of Student Outreach and Post-Secondary Access for Say Yes to Education Guilford. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
No, you
today.
can't welcome me. I'm already here. Now, I understand that you guys have had you've had a busy spring. We know we're trying to come out of this pandemic thing. How have you, sort of bring me up to speed on how you've been helping students, even though we've had all the pandemic going on?
Yeah, so it seems like a decade ago when we transitioned to everything in March 2020. But in order to continue serving the students within our county, we transitioned all of our high school program into virtual in order to continue to reach their post-secondary needs. But we also launched our virtual tutoring program while continuing our in-person tutoring in schools.
Now, is that we didn't rehearse this, I put you on the spot. Is that some of that is going to continue? I mean, is that still going to be an option to do some virtual things, or how are we doing to do it now?
Yeah, so it's important for us to meet students and families where they are. So we see the need to continue virtual events because we did find some increased engagement. But as the light, I guess, at the end of the tunnel comes with the pandemic, we'll continue to transition to more in-person events.
Let's give some, not that, and look, I'm realistic. I know that young people don't watch this show. I mean, they'll see it streaming on the internet sometimes, but this is for parents and grandparents and guardians and business people. But if they're listening and they want to transmit this information to seniors in high school, what would be your advice for how a senior needs to sort of get prepped, get prepared for getting ready for college?
Yeah, so I think there's a large misconception that it's not that it's too late right now to begin or even finalize that process. With the pandemic, a lot of deadlines have been pushed back, but students have the opportunity still to continue to file their FAFSA, which will allow them to get some funding from the federal government. And we also still have our Say Yes scholarship open. It closes on June 1st, so that is just a few weeks away. So we hope that your senior has completed their Say Yes Guilford application. But we also encourage them to continue to search for different scholarships that can help offset the different costs that they may see, as well as finalize any FAFSA processes that they may need to, such as verification.
Yeah, because like you were talking about with the federal programs and whatever, the good part is you're not limited to one thing. They can still maybe go for a scholarship from you and get scholarship somewhere else and combine them, right?
Yes, it's not like a one thing pays for all. I wish that's ideal, right? One scholarship that pays for everything, but it's important to look at all of the resources that you have, not only within your county, but also within the school that you'll be enrolling.
How will your mission, how will your work shift, or will it, as we get into the summer months?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we work around the clock year-round in order to serve our students, but we will continue to do our virtual tutoring in the fall. But as we continue to plan for the summer, we will ensure that students have finalized all those processes that I spoke of earlier, but also just communicating the next step. So you've applied for your scholarship. What are the next steps to ensure that you are actually enrolling into the institution that you have been accepted into?
You and I didn't meet until today, but I did some reading about you, and I know that you've always been a big advocate for access to education. So let me ask you a personal question before time gets away from us. What gratification do you get from doing your job now?
Yeah, so before serving at Say Yes Guilford, I had the opportunity to work within a local high school and serve as the college advisor and assist students. And so as I continue and I guess get old, as you all will probably laugh at, but as I get older and see students begin to graduate, specifically our Say Yes scholars, that keeps me going, knowing that access is important, but also ensuring that these students persist and graduate and go on to the workforce and to serve our community.
That's just great. Up on screen, sayyesguilford.org is the website where you can check out more information. And as Brandy said, it's never too late. Even if you're a college senior, keep checking out those scholarship possibilities and get involved. I tell you, I really appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, and it's time to talk to Mr. Theater. We need to name a whole segment out there.
I think you should.
Mr. Theater segment. Dave Briggs, director of High Point Theater. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Always a pleasure to be here.
I sense that you are in a better mood than you have been in the past because, look, the pandemic has been tragic for so many people. It's also been bad on the economy. It's been bad for a lot of things, and it's been frustrating for you because I've seen you work like a Rubik's Cube of moving performers around internationally and all these great things you do and having just, move things around. Now, the governor's made some recent statements. CDC's made some recent statements. What does this do? What impact? How many people can we get in the theater at a time? Do we have to wear masks? Update me.
Well, based on the executive order from past Friday, face masks are recommended but not required.
If you're vaccinated,
If you're
for sure.
vaccinated, but we're not the vaccine police. So if you come to a theatrical show, the other thing, and this was what really kind of frustrating is not the right word, but it was shocking, was that we went from basically 50% capacity at social distance seating to 100% capacity with zero distance seating.
Yeah, right.
So it's caused us to change our dynamic a little bit and how we approach our upcoming shows. Right now, we've got a number of dance recitals going on, and we've got the Miss North Carolina pageant. But in July, our shows start really in earnest with the Tia Goins, Chelsea Sorrell show.
Right.
So,
all right, now let's talk about something I think is really cool. And if you, we're going to give you the website address in just a second. But if you're used to going to the High Point Theater website, go to it now for sure.
Please.
It's been totally redone. You've done sort of a rebranding. What are we going to see? What's the reason behind this?
sure. Well, Sarah Stevenson, our new marketing person, really did a great job with this. But our tagline is established to entertain. And that's what you're going to see when you visit it. It's very clean. It's very easy to find information out, not just about the artist, but if you want to rent the space, if you want to get in touch with the staff, there's a nice history page on there. Tell folks, how did the High Point Theater come to be? So, and it's very clean, it's very crisp, and easy to use. And it's not just easy to use on a computer screen, but also on your phone.
Right, and there's even it's hard for me to describe, I'm not that creative, but there's even a banner that goes across toward the middle that'll talk about upcoming things that were just announced, like our good buddy Billy Crash Craddock's coming later in the
Yes.
year, and you'll see those kind of things. Now, I think, I don't know that this is up on the screen yet, but we can sort of preview it very quickly. Garrison Keillor is supposed to come win.
Yeah, we just signed Garrison Keillor, who'll be with us on November 12th with the Hopeful Quartet, or the Joyful Quartet. So he took a couple of years off, and now he's going back out on the road. And of course, he's famous from Prairie Home Companion.
Right. Now, since everything has been changing very quickly, I'm assuming that there's still season tickets available. And what's a good time to get those, and what's the best way to do it? Because there had been some confusion at one point about, do we go to the website, or should we call the box office?
Sure, and there's still going to be a little bit of confusion because we haven't rolled out the entire 26 events into our website yet.
Right.
But they can call us, and we'll send them a little cheat sheet, if you will, that has all those events and how they can become a subscriber, and they can go ahead and get signed up. Officially, most of those shows will launch on, I think it's June 16th.
Right.
For the remaining balance of the season. So
Okay.
pretty exciting. In fact, we're going to have a press conference on the 16th of June.
Really? All right. So in a couple of weeks, everything will sort of be rolled out on the website. You'll be able to pick and choose, and hopefully, people get season tickets. And then some people will just say, hey, I want to see these 3 concerts, and they can do that as well.
Exactly.
And still a good idea to call the box office, because that's the human that you can contact.
Oh, yeah, 336-887-3001, and they'd love to hear from you.
All right. He just mentioned the phone number, so I'm going to put it up for real. And the website, highpointtheater.com. Now remember, there's double T's there, High Point and then theater. It's all together. highpointtheater.com. Beautiful website. Check it out. You're going to love it. And the box office, as Dave said, is 887-3001. Congratulations on getting reopened and all the
you,
hard
Jim.
work. I know you've been really through the mill on this, but good job.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Theater. We will, he's waving his mask goodbye. We'll be right back. On Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but another quick shout out to our hosts, the Senior Botanical Garden here in Kernersville. Hope you'll come out and visit them. You can book your weddings and receptions and meetings here, do all that good stuff. Now to the roundtable. On my immediate right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Socially distanced behind him, two of our good friends, Wendy Poteet, CEO, president of Say Yes to Education Guilford. We just talked about that subject earlier in the program with one of her cohorts. And Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys and gals, let's get to it. In an effort to have everyone protected against COVID, the governor is considering a number of things. One of the proposals is, especially where it concerns young people, puts money into the savings accounts of young adults if they will get vaccinated. You okay with that as an incentive, Ogie?
Well, it's not a bad idea, but it's such a sad commentary on society that you have to bribe people to get a shot that'll save their lives and their fellow man's life.
Very strange. Wendy?
I agree with Ogie. The incentive is the vaccine will help save your life. You shouldn't need anything else other than that.
Keith?
I disagree with both of them. I think I think the incentive is a lot of black people are being used to vaccines that have hurt them in the past. So there's a lot of misconceptions. So getting them money to do that may be a way to get them involved in this process.
All right. Meanwhile, state lawmakers are up to something else here. They're considering a bill that would allow elected officials, all elected officials, to carry a handgun anywhere they go, even in areas that already prohibit that kind of thing, like going into a legislative chamber with a gun. You okay with giving elected officials carte blanche to carry guns everywhere, Ogie?
What do you think, Jim?
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Well, no.
Wendy?
The way our elected officials act on both sides of the aisle, they don't need to have carte blanche on anything right
No,
now.
nothing with anything, a car or a gun or anything. Keith?
I think we need to train the police with their guns that they already have. I think we need to leave the lawmakers to practice law.
That's right. Now, this is a strange case, but somebody cited this statistic to me the other day. There are over 10,000 court cases on the books that actually include racial slurs in their documents and testimony, where if somebody was, made a racial slur, it was part of a testimony in there, they've got it in there. Now, the problem is, or maybe it's not a problem, a lot of law school professors are now being suspended and disciplined because they're citing those racial slurs as they're teaching about those cases. Guys and gals, should college professors be allowed to cite racial slurs that appear in legal documents? Ogie Overman.
Well, first of all, why are they in the legal documents to begin with?
Well, let's say that you're in a case where it says Ogie Overman was sued by the school where he was a teacher because he used a racial slur.
You referring specifically to the N-word? Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
they'll have N-words or other racial.
I think they could get the point across without using the N-word.
Wendy?
I think we're not looking at the root cause. I think Ogie hit it on the head. Why are there so many slurs in these documents, and why are we punishing the professors instead of trying to address the root cause of why are there 10,000 cases with racial slurs in them?
Mr. Granberry?
We know why they're racial slurs because that's society, but we have to be able to understand that if they're saying those and that's part of the thing, how are they saying it? If you're saying it to get a point across, I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right, 2 young Oklahoma boys were recently removed from their elementary school. I think they were ages 7 and 8, something like that, because they were wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts. School officials said that the shirts violated school dress code policy because it was making a political statement. Now, are you okay with how the school made that decision? Ogie?
I hate to say it, but what's good for the goose? Good. If you ban a kid for wearing a Confederate flag t-shirt, you you can debate whether it's a political, it shouldn't be a political statement. It should be just a point of fact that it's a given. But everything's so politicized now that you kind of got to go both ways.
Should be a shirt about humanity, whereas a Confederate flag could be more racist. But anyway, are you okay with how the school did this?
I agree totally with Ogie. First of all, Black Lives Matter is not a political statement. It is a statement that has been politicized. It's a statement of fact. But if the school has their dress code policy, as long as I don't see a MAGA hat or a MAGA t-shirt, I'm fine with them not having the Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
Keith?
I want to break it down quickly. It ain't that all lives don't matter. It's that Black Lives Matter. From the time that black people have been slaves to Jim Crow to civil rights to now, there are always issues when it comes to racial disparities, and that's what it is. So this Black Lives Matters t-shirt is not about a statement, it's about a fact, and we're not talking about all lives don't matter, but we're saying that black lives do matter, period.
And it's not political then.
Period.
All right, very quickly, speaking of something similar to that, a recent complaint came into the Winston-Salem Police Department a citizen saw inside of a police car, the officer had some Trump paraphernalia and political campaigning stuff in there. That's against the code in the county of Forsyth and in most counties. You know, if you're a public servant, you're not supposed to have campaign materials around, but it was inside the patrol car. Any thoughts on this quickly, Ogie?
Yeah, that you can't have that. You cannot politicize the cops. You can't do that.
Wendy?
I agree with that, but also I'd like for it to be in plain sight. I'd like to know what and who is stopping me.
That's a good point. So you know exactly where you stand. Keith?
That is a good point, but he should not have Trump paraphernalia or any political paraphernalia in his police car, period.
All right, one quick one. Let's go over the Supreme Court. There are many Democrats in Congress that would like to see 4 justices added to the Supreme Court to try to even things out. Quickly, Ogie, good idea, bad idea?
I hate to say it. My heart says yes, but my mind says no. It's a slippery slope.
Could backfire. Wendy?
FDR tried it. It's not going to work.
Right, Wendy?
It could backfire. The point that I see in it is the 6-3 majority that's held right now is not the voice of the American people. The conservatives hold that seat 6 out of the 7 last presidential elections. They've lost the popular vote.
Keith, yes or no?
I say yes.
All
They
right.
should.
Finally, a company in Italy is now selling pizzas that are made in a vending machine. So I'm curious, guys and gals, would you eat a pizza made in a vending machine? Ogie, over.
I would. I don't care. I mean, I eat junk food all the time, but Italy, of all places,
Would do
doing
it.
vending machine pizza.
You would
That's
eat
sad.
it. Whose
Oh, I'd
phone
eat
is
it.
that?
Yeah,
Is that
sure.
your phone?
Unfortunately,
Are
it
you
is.
calling me? Keith is calling. Keith is calling in his answer.
I cannot believe that my
Well,
phone.
well, just cut it off then.
I don't have it on me.
Well, where is it?
It's over there somewhere.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
Yes, you
We're
do.
bringing in some special help to cut off Keith's phone. It's like mail-in ballots,
No, it
except
should
this
be
is
over.
call-in ballot. Wendy, I don't even know what the question was. Would you eat a vending pizza?
No, I'm a pizza snob. I need fresh dough and mozzarella. And
You eat hamburgers and hot dogs from vending machine. Why not a pizza?
I don't know. Why don't you call somebody about it?
I'm getting ready to.
All right,
I'm
well,
going
that's
to
all
get it on
the-
my phone right now.
That's, oh man, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. This goes with pizza. It's a true story about beer over in England. Queen Elizabeth is now brewing her own beer. It's a true story, but the critics that are reviewing the royal family's beer now say you got to look out because the royal family's efforts are tending to leave a bitter taste in your mouth. Hey, I can identify with that, said Meghan Markle. All right, for all of us here, we're going to go call Keith, and we'll be back next week. I'll see you.